You have to learn to fight for your commission.
You have to stand out. You have to show people who you are. You have to be vulnerable and authentic.
We all know here in this day and age that commission isn't promised, that you have to show your value. I learned that not all business is good business. Sometimes you have to get a little dirty to shape something that's successful. At this point in time, everyone had to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Those are the boring questions. We can run through those in 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
Because if we're writing offers, I want to be 100% sure, because I want you all in. That trust had already had a little crack in it. I really want to know why you're moving here. So your motivation, what you're looking for in a community. I really try to make it personal. They will be happy to talk about. They will be happy to show their friends. They will be happy to say this makes me think about Shaka.
Shaka, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive into a little bit about what makes you successful. I think the secret sauce that you have is you've done a lot of rental transactions helping landlords, and that sort of poured into blowing up your sales business. I want to dive into that. But before, tell me, how did you get into real estate in the first place?
Yeah, so I actually started in real estate around COVID. It kind of was, I was getting out of another industry. I saw a lot of successful agents. It looked like, it was a lot of fun. I knew it was hard work. And actually the day before, or the day that we went on lockdown for COVID was the day that I had my first day in the office, or was supposed to be.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy. Heart sank. My partner at the time was a real estate agent. His heart definitely sank.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow. I thought we were going to be golden. Now the whole world is stopping.
It's so crazy because I started a year before, and it was a pretty good market at the time. But I remember that point where COVID hit. Everybody was starting to wear masks. Everybody didn't know how to act. It was 2 months of no activity. Nobody wanted to go in a house. They were afraid, didn't know what the rules were. Tell me about that time, and how long did it take you to get your first transaction?
Yeah, so it was scary for me, just like it was scary for everyone else. I'm actually super grateful for that, because a lot of agents were learning to pivot and learn new skills and learning how to get out of their comfort zone. They were getting on camera, doing Facebook Live, doing Zoom calls. I learned that with them. I learned that, this is what it takes to succeed in the business as of this date. It may not have been that way a month prior, a year prior, but at this point in time, everyone had to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It pushed me a lot. I did not have the advantage of having a previous book of business that then blew up due to the COVID surge in activity. I split my sphere of influence with my partner. Again, he was a real estate agent as well. And so I really had to start getting new connections, talking to more people, doing the open houses, picking up rentals, not saying no to business. I was hungry to learn. I didn't want to miss an opportunity. And that's where I learned that not all business is good business, but sometimes you have to get a little dirty to shape something that's successful. So I've worked a lot of rentals. A lot of my rental clients have turned into homeowners. Sometimes those renters never even rented anything. Once we saw it was out there and rates started dropping, they were like, why don't I just buy something? And so that's when I learned that everyone deserves an opportunity to be represented. And so have the conversation with someone, figure out if they're your ideal client before just dismissing them and saying no, I don't work rentals.
Yeah. Let's dig into that, because I think a lot of agents out there struggle and are thinking, there's not a rental market in Atlanta. We're not in New York City where you're getting 2-3 months of rent or something as a commission. A lot of the time, these landlords don't even really want to pay much more, at best, a 1 month's rent commission. What would you say to those agents out there that are approached by a landlord asking them, hey, I actually don't want to sell my place, but can you rent it out for me?
So in my personal business, I always get at least 1 month's rent as my commission. Even in certain cases, if the rent is not that high and I know the cost and time commitment, because there is a large time commitment that comes with it, I will even put in the contract that, the landlord is due, has to pay for the photography, videography, whatever we have going, plus the
Smart.
commission. And you have to learn to fight for your commission. I mean, we all know here in this day and age that commission isn't promised, that you have to show your value. And if the landlord does not want to pay that premium for a premium agent, then I'm just not the agent for them.
Yeah.
I've not had a landlord say no. I think when you know your value, you present that and you show them your record of success. If they want that, they go with you. If they want to go the cheaper route, Zillow's free. They can pay for their own photography. They can work every one of the showings because there usually is a lot.
Yeah.
No matter how good your marketing is, like rentals are rentals. There's a lot of people looking to rent. There's a high inventory. There's a bunch of apartments that are competing with everything. So I have to also express that to the landlord and say, this is your competition. Are you prepared to put in that effort to save you 1 month's rent?
Yeah. Here's another tip, and you might already be doing this, but what we've ended up doing in our contracts for rentals is like we put 8.33%, which ends up being 1 month's rent, but we're incentivized, and the landlords love this as well, to get a longer term tenant. So we've been successful of getting like a 2-year or a 3-year lease, and we're getting paid 8.33% of however long of a lease we're able to get. So
yeah, that's smart.
That's another little tip there for our audience. But any other, pieces of advice for agents out there that are looking to get into rentals to potentially get opportunities and sales?
Yeah. So one main reason that I take on landlord clients, a lot of my previous buyers have turned into investors. A lot of people want to keep that low interest rate. They can't afford to go out and buy another home wherever they're moving to. They have a condo, they can't sell it, and so they become landlords. I would rather work with the landlord, my client, than to pass them on to another agent. I've had experiences where agents have referred their landlord client over to me and like, hey, can you handle this? And that client has later approached me, hey, I want to sell my house. Now things get sticky. Of course, I'm a great referral partner, so I go back to the person that referred it to me. But even in some of those cases, it's not worked out in either one of our favors, just simply because that trust had already had a little crack in it. So don't be afraid to help your clients, or at least explain things to your clients if you do have to, because some people just don't have the bandwidth to work landlords. Right. If you have to, just stay connected with both your referral partner and your client. Be in your client's corner, check in with your client. Don't lose that opportunity. I personally have not referred out any of my clients to another agent, but I'm also guiding my clients. If it's something that I feel like I can't do, let's explore options. Is this something that they can handle? Again, if they can't, I'll work with them the best that I can, but I have to respect my business.
Yeah. I'm curious, have you ever had a scenario where it's not just the importance of keeping up with the landlord, but maybe like the tenant that you place in the future is like, well, I've been renting for a year or two, Shaka, now I'm kind of ready to buy. Like, can you help me out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because most of the time I usually am the point of contact when the tenant is initiated into the process. I'm the person that's vetting them. I'm the person that's making sure they're getting in the house before I turn it over to the landlord. I do put that tenant on my mailers. I do put that tenant within my newsletter. I'm really good at getting to know people, remembering things about them, what made them special, what makes their reason for moving to a certain area. And so I have a lot of follow-up initiated with that, just like I would with any client. So let's say someone wanted to move to West Midtown. They were excited about the restaurants there. New restaurants opening up. I think about that tenant and I send them something. It's like, hey, this just opened up. It's in your neighborhood. Just thought you would want to know, or anything to keep that conversation going and that relationship going.
Yeah.
Because it's not, to be honest, in my opinion, it's not enough to just send a newsletter with no relevancy to them.
Yeah.
They're just going to delete, unsubscribe. But when you make it personal and you make them feel like, oh, this person actually got me, they'll keep in contact with you. And when that time does come, they'll give you a call.
Mm-hmm. I definitely want to get into some of that and a lot of, your process on the back end on how to keep in touch with your sphere. But on the front end, you spent all this time, building a business. Walk me through your actual process. One of the things that stuck out is like your buyer interview system and how you have a consultant approach. Talk to me about that.
Oh, yeah. So my buyer consult is usually about an hour long. Okay. This is probably one of my favorite parts. I like to de-stress my clients, just let them know, hey, this is going to be conversational. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask all the big questions, but like how many bedrooms you need, like what size yard you want. Those are the boring questions. We can run through those in 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
I really want to know why you're moving here. So your motivation, what you're looking for in a community. Because Atlanta is large, but we have a lot of small neighborhoods that can be a fit. And so instead of, hey, I just want to be in Virginia Highlands, tell me why. I want to know what they did like in their previous home and community and what they didn't like. I also want to know, what does life look like when you're coming home? What are some key questions that you're not going to think of that we can make sure this house is actually a fit? Mm-hmm. Where do you like drinking your coffee? Are you, I like to go to the coffee shop, or do you want to drink coffee in your sun porch? What kind of commute do you want home to get home? And is it because you're trying to watch your favorite show in the evening, or, hey, you want to catch sunset? Because you can kind of guide little things around that.
Right.
But ultimately I'm trying to get to know the client, and I'm trying to find things that could possibly blow up a deal that they weren't thinking about. Atlanta sees a high number of canceled deals.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that's because the right questions weren't asked to make sure that the house is a fit. During the consultations, I do tell my clients, I'm not going to give you my opinion too much about the house unless it's something about safety or resale value. But I will challenge you on certain things if you've expressed that this may not meet my lifestyle, this may not meet my needs, but we're writing an offer on the house. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give pushback. If you push back to me and you're like, no, I'm actually fine with that, I didn't think about that, we're good. If you're like, hey, you're right, I did say I didn't want to be, this close to this busy road, but it is right there. Like, think about that, because if we're writing offers, I want to be 100% sure, because I want you all in. Because when it comes to the repair list and stuff, if it's little things that blow up a deal, I feel I didn't do my job. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I'm trying to get to know them, because these relationships, they do go on beyond closing. I'm really big into closing gifts. One thing that I do, I like to match the closing gift to the person. I don't do just generic ones. I try to find what would be special for them. It takes me usually the 30-day process of, once we're under contract, I got to start thinking what would stand out to them? What would be a lasting value add?
Right.
Something that they would see or think about past the closing time when they're like, Shaka gave me that, or I need to check in with him because I use this thing all the time.
Right. It sounds like, to me, you really get to know your clients at the end of the day, before the process and especially during. And that way you can really have a client for life.
Yeah. It's all about tailoring the experience to the client and making them feel more like, I'm helping out a family member, that they're just not another number. That's how you keep client retention.
One of the game changers to my business is, for the first year when I started to be an agent, I was just having random sort of calls before, and sometimes we'd even just meet at the house. Like, oh, let me show you this house. You want to see this house? You hit me up about this house. But it's the wrong way to do it. What changed after a year is let's have that buyer consultation call. Let's get to know each other. Let's make sure it's a good fit. Because at the end of the day, if we just run to the house, we're wasting our time if we don't even know, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Our clients don't see what we see when we look at those listing pictures.
Yep.
So I'm curious, tell me a little bit about how you set that up. Is that a coffee chat? Is that you're asking them to a Zoom meeting? Or like what is some tactical advice you can give to agents out there?
It's whatever is comfortable with the client.
Mhm.
So depending on their time commitment, because I mean, with my clients, some of them are busier. If they're a couple, sometimes their schedules don't overlap with like a short minute, and it might be late in the evening. I want them to be fully comfortable. So putting a lot of high pressure on doing it. Yes, we need to do the consult, but I'm not going to force them into a situation where we're rushed or they're not really trying to dig in with my questions, because this sets the tone, it sets the pace. This disarms them, and it starts to get them to trust me as well. I love to meet in person. If not, we're doing it over Zoom. The phone calls, you miss a lot. You don't see the like expression on their face when they're talking about stuff. It is not as personal. There's a lot of people, even if you come as a referral, there's a little mistrust, or yeah, I think that's the proper word. There's a little mistrust there.
Yeah.
Not everyone trusts agents. They've heard bad things. They're like, oh, they're not good, even if you're starting to impress them.
Sleazy car salesman.
Yeah. But when you put like your face to it and they get to see you smile, you make them smile,
Right.
make them laugh, and you're like their best friend. And then going into that first meeting, you've already set the rapport. They're already leaning on you as expert because they're like, oh, he listened to me.
Right.
You start asking those questions and pointing things out that they've said before, and they're like, we're a team. And that's one secret thing of mine. I love to refer to us as a team. I speak in terms of us, not you all, y'all or you. I'm like, hey, we have to do this. Let us, like, you have to let them know, like, this is a me and you. I'm in your corner. Especially this comes in handy when you get to those negotiation points. They know you are working with them and you're not just trying to get a deal.
100%.
It's not, hey, you have to do this. We need to do this to make this deal happen.
Yeah, I think that has to be like across all your communication, whether it's verbal, written, all the emails, texts, it's all we, not you or I. Curious, as you go through this consultation, last question for you, what are some of the main questions that you ask that you feel like maybe other agents miss on their consult? Is there like one or two that like you always ask that you need to, or you're like, totally forgot that?
I think it would be really based on community, because if you don't ask community questions, finding neighborhoods that will work for them, you're going to miss some. Whereas if I've now identified, let's say they come in and they know, oh, I love Virginia Highlands. I love Grant Park. It's like, why do you like those? What are you looking for? And they're like, oh, the walkability specific to these kind of coffee shops, specific to like hot yoga, XYZ.
Yeah.
But like, I want to raise my kids in an area where, this is the experience. I love Virginia Highland Porch Fest, XYZ. Okay, well, now I know. Let's look at Oakhurst. Let's look at some places in downtown Decatur. Let's look at places where your dollar may stretch more. There may be less competition.
Right.
And it gives them, not only it makes you look like an expert, but it gives them a different outlook and more opportunities, especially as we're heading into the spring market. Like, I have clients that they would love to be in Virginia Highlands in these midtown-ish neighborhoods, but we're also looking in these other areas where they can get twice as much of the house, but it's still great school districts. It's still high walkability. It's still generally the same kind of vibe. And we're finding wins in that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely a secret. Like you said, once you figure out what they really like about certain community. I mean, Atlanta's so competitive, and yes, we have a lot more inventory now, but before and even now, it's like it's slim pickings. Like, we're fighting over homes, especially in town. So if you can say, well, you love this neighborhood, but what about the one right next to it? Like, it's got everything to offer, but it's a little bit more affordable. You get more house, or you'll get a backyard, or whatever it is. So super smart. I want to switch gears into social media. You've really blown up, and that's how we got to know each other. I just started to get a bunch of your videos that coming across super polished. Tell me about why it's been important for you to really put your best foot forward on social media these days.
Yeah, well, that's how clients are finding you. That's how other agents are recognizing your work ethic, and that you are an agent that puts a lot of attention into your listings. Because I know in this industry, you see certain names and you're like, I know this guy may have listings. I know his listings are put together, so let me call him. I may look for off market opportunities. Majority, I do it for clients. My clients, past and future, love seeing this stuff. I've really put a lot of money, time, and effort into now crafting what I want to be my brand, so I can have consistency through my social media. You're seeing agents that have blown up in the past from social media. You're seeing agents that are now taking hold to that, and it's such a gold mine. I've never paid for leads. I don't. It's just not part of my practice. I like when clients come in, they already have some kind of baseline of I know you, I've heard of you. I want in on what you have. I want that client experience. And getting in front of the camera, being on video, it is half the work already done.
Yeah. It shifts the conversation from let me try to sell myself to you versus, let's just focus on how I can help you.
Yeah. And sellers love it. And I get referrals because of my social media. Not even direct clients coming in. People are like, oh yeah, I know you're in real estate. You're doing really good. I like those videos. I have a friend that's moving here. I'm like, wow, that's great. Send them my way.
What's working for you on social media?
Spending money on good videographers, sitting down with the videographer, not just, hey, plug and play, let's make something happen, but sitting down, having an image of what you want it to look like, making sure that they understand that, watching the video before you leave. Hey, let's go over and look at what it looked like before we leave the site.
Right.
And saying this, I think we can make happen. I've stepped up the financial commitment with everything that I put out. And then, I said, I've never played for leads, but everyone's boosting their posts, learning how to boost it strategically, smart, learning what works, what doesn't. Sign up for some of these seminars or online coaching things that kind of teach you how to go viral, because you can find a good videographer, but there's few videographers that will then teach you how to make that video go viral or that video reach other people. And don't be afraid to try things, see what works, see what doesn't work. You can always hit delete. That's something I'm also trying to implement with myself. Is I think we were talking about it earlier, 80%. You just got to get to 80%.
Just got to get it out there. Yeah. Sometimes it's not going to be perfectly polished, but it's all about protecting your time as well. And it takes some time to put these videos together. What do you think? What would you say to agents out there that are like, I don't want to get into social media. It's just going to be too much time. I'm spending hours in front of my phone scrolling and trying to figure it out. If you don't want to look into it, if you don't want to put the time commitment in, pay somebody else to do it. And that's just an investment in yourself. I've become a victim of social media in a sense, and I've had to retrain myself. If I'm going to be on there, it needs to be for research. I hit save on all these agents posts, and I'm like, I really like this. I really like this. And so now I have a booklet. And if I don't know what to do with that, I send those videos to my videographer beforehand. I'm like, can we do any one of these? If I can make my video look like this is what I'm willing to pay for. Let's make it happen. Having that framework has definitely helped. Watching other agents' success, this is why you tune into shows like this, seeing what works for them and saying I can replicate that, because we're all in this. No one's no one's super special. You can do it. You just have to try. And there's never been more resources out there available. 2 months ago, we ended up biting the bullet and we're like, we need to hire someone. So we brought in a part-time social media partner that just follows us around, puts together videos, gives us ideas. Like you said, we're sharing, oh, look at this agents, look at this, this one went viral, this one, that can we replicate that? So there's never been more people out there trying to help you with social media, and there's never been more resources to learn how to do it. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at us. I mean, I'm an engineer, mechanical engineer. I never thought 15 years ago, like if you were to ask me, I'd be sitting here in a podcast studio with like a badass agent and be like, hell no, that's not me. Like, but
Yeah.
the world is changing.
It is.
And to get in front and to set yourself apart, you have to stand out. You have to show people who you are. You have to be vulnerable and authentic. And that's what it's about. So,
yeah. And I'll say one thing about social media is there's no right way, wrong way. There's the way that works for you. There's a lot of people in the world. There's a lot of people in Atlanta. There's a lot of people that are moving to Atlanta. Your algorithm and your output is different from the next person. If you see someone doing a certain video, following a certain blueprint of like how they shoot their videos, give it a try. You're not going, like, no one owns that specific type. Try shooting it, see if it works for you, see if it feels right for you. Because if you're comfortable with a certain style, you'll do it more.
mm-hmm.
But if you're uncomfortable and you're forcing yourself, it's a lot harder. So find something that like you're like, I can do this all day. I can put out 5 of these videos a week.
Yeah.
You can do that, great.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like 2, great. But find something that feels easy for you. Put those out there. That agent's sphere, that agent's following is not your following.
Yeah.
You can do whatever,
mm-hmm.
just so long as you're doing something.
Yeah. No, that one hits home so hard because we were trying to like put together scripts and I was like, this doesn't sound like me. Like, let me just figure out the hook, figure out the topic, and just let it rip and make sure you're talking about something you're passionate about, like you said. So,
yeah.
Well, I would love to keep talking and keep going, but we've got to kind of bring this to a wrap. We always end our show with our signature question about what is the one play you want to add to the Atlanta playbook. You mentioned closing gifts, so I'd love to dig into that. Tell us about the play you're adding to our playbook.
Yeah, so I touched on it earlier. With my closing gifts, I really try to make it personal.
Mm.
I want something that they will be happy to talk about. They will be happy to show their friends. They will be happy to say, like, this makes me think about Shaka. Something that is personal in the sense that they know there's thought put into it. And it wasn't just here goes my logo on something. There was no hate about that. But like
here's a cup with a logo. Yeah.
I love Tiffany's. When I started, a lot of agents were doing the Tiffany champagne flutes and all. I like that, but I was like, I got to step it up because if everyone's doing it, it's kind of like the mug with your logo on it.
Yeah.
So I get something a bit more expensive if I get it from Tiffany's. But also I match it to the client. Like I've had clients that they would care less about bourbon or wine or anything that would come from Tiffany's. So like I have one client that they really like beer, love beer. We've had many nights where they're like, hey, just meet me at the brewery. And so I was doing my research and I found like a machine that would turn like certain, like a, what do you call it, growler into draft beer.
Oh, cool.
And so like I gifted them that along with like a dinner at their favorite steakhouse that like they know the owner by name. They hang out with the owner. I was like, oh, well, like he doesn't pay for your meals, but I'm going to send you a couple $100 to go hang out with him more. They love that. They still use that. They like send me pictures of them using it. And then I also look for something that I can add to. So I love referrals. I have a high degree of referrals. So let's say I give a really nice decanter from Tiffany's. It's something that for one, my clients will keep out on display. They'll get compliments on it and they're like, oh, my agent got this for me. But I pre-stock some of the things that will accompany it so that for every referral, I'm giving them more stuff that will complement that set. And so now like I have clients that they have a lot of Tiffany glassware, but it's like really nice ones that stand out. Yeah. And it keeps it going. And they're like, oh, I want more. So let me give more referrals.
No, like I said, it sounds like you really get to know your clients. You figure out, not only what do they want on the house, but also like who they are and what would resonate with them to make sure they remember you even beyond the transaction.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you ever give any gifts like during the process, after? Have you found success in that, or you feel like stick to the big closing gift?
I like the big closing gift. during the process, it's more of like, how do I meet them where they are? What's some times to remind them that like we're just not a one and done. Hey, do you want to go grab dinner? Something to like de-stress them. Really big on like meals to let them know like, hey, yeah, we're in the deal, but like I don't want to disappear once we've gotten through due diligence. It's like, let's keep that going. But more so, I'm big on after it. How do I still stay in contact, still give them some sort of value of, hey, I want to like send you a bottle of wine, something that like just continues that soft relationship.
Well, you heard it here, agents, on the Atlanta Agent Playbook. Double down on your closing gifts, step it up. You know, wine bottle is not going to do it anymore if you want to compete with Shaka.
Yeah, the best is when they like are drinking out of something and they tag you in it and no one knows what it means, but they're like, okay, like, or they say, thank you for this gift like 2 years down the road. That's great.
Dang. Shaka, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for your time on the studio.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been great.